Good morning. I'm so excited to be here with you today and to talk to you about what has become something that I can't stop talking about over the past year. My name is Erin West. I'm a deputy district attorney in Santa Clara County, California. And I, over the past year, have become very involved in providing education regarding pig butchering. This is something that I am excited to talk to you about because it's something that is a very concerning worldwide wave of fraud and human trafficking, and I'd like to tell you about it. But before I tell you about it, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. I've been a prosecutor for 25 years, and in my spare time, I really like to garden. And so I'm just showing you some flowers in my backyard that I garden. And the reason why I'm showing you these flowers and my backyard is because what I'm about to tell you about are things that happened to me in my backyard last summer. And I am here to tell you in this worldwide audience that if it happened to you if it happened to me in my backyard in California, it is happening where you live, and it is happening to people that you know. So let me take you back to Memorial Day weekend, which is in late July. And this is my best friend, Lisa, and she's sitting in my backyard looking at her phone, and she's laughing because she just got a text. And the text looks like this. Hi, Julie, just reaching out to say hi. I hope you're doing well. Happened to be driving around Maple Park and thought of you. All the best, Bob. And she's laughing because I told you her name is Lisa. And so this isn't her. She's thinking that she got a wrong number text. And this is the first time she's heard of a wrong number text. Well, if you are like me or any of my friends or anyone that I know, you've been inundated with these wrong number texts. She's laughing, but I'm concerned as I'm looking at her because I realize that this is step one in how she is being targeted by scammers. Now, this pig butchering scam, the way they target victims, there are four main ways. One of them is through a wrong number text like this. Another is through LinkedIn, through Match, through any one of the match dating apps, or through LinkedIn. And the way they do it is they just sort of drop in and they try to get your attention. I'll give you another example. This is one we love at my task force. I work with a task force of specially trained detectives who are experts in high-tech crime, and it's called the React Task Force. And we love this one. This is Dr. David. My dog is still very slow and won't eat dog food. Can you make an appointment for me? So what these scammers are doing is they're trying to attract your attention, and they're doing it in ways that pull on heartstrings. That, of course, everyone's concerned about this dog that won't eat, and so people might respond to that. And as you sit here watching this, and you're watching FraudCON, so you're highly attuned to fraud, you think, well, I wouldn't fall for that. But I'm here to tell you that your neighbors are, and that possibly your family members are, and that's why you need to be aware of this scam. So let's take you back to my backyard, and now it's 4th of July of last year, which is a big holiday for us in the United States, and I get this text. This is from my friend Allison, who wants to know if I work on crypto fraud cases, and I do, and she wants to call me. But let's think about when this is. Again, this is on 4th of July weekend. She's texting me at 9:15 p.m. on a Sunday, and she wants to talk to me. So I knew before I even took that call what this was going to be about. We started talking, and she told me that her son had received someone dropped into his dating apps, and I knew as the story progressed, I could tell the story even before she told me, that I knew it was going to be a young, attractive woman, often Asian, and that she was going to start a conversation with him on the social media platform, and then she was going to move it to WhatsApp. And the reason our scammers do that is because they know that the platforms are looking for scammers online, and so they want to get off those platforms as soon as they can and get them to an encrypted platform where they can work their magic. And so let me tell you a little bit about this scam. It's a long con. It happens over a month. This scammer will be talking to the victims and will spend hours a day checking in with them, talking to them, being super kind, love bombing them. But what they're doing is a highly targeted, highly manipulative course of action that they have done on repeat for years now. And what they're doing during that 30 days is twofold. Number one, they're trying to build a trusted relationship so that the victim is completely enmeshed in this relationship and completely trusts them. During that time, these scammers are showing them an enviable lifestyle. They're not being direct, but they're saying things like, oh, I'm going to Hawaii. Do you think I should stay on this island or that island? I'm shopping for a handbag. Should I buy this designer or that designer? And what they're doing is that they're creating a belief in the victim that they're dealing with someone who is sophisticated and wealthy. What they're also doing during that 30-day time period is they are doing a completely targeted technique where they want to find out exactly how much money our victim has. And the reason they're doing that, and you may be wondering, why is this called pig butchering? Pig butchering is a Chinese term coined by the original creators of this scam. It's called Sha Zhu Pan, and it means pig butchering. And the concept is that these scammers are going to consume the victim from snout to tail. They are going to leave nothing behind. And that's what they do to these victims. When they're trying to figure out how much money their victim has, they're trying to find that out for the sole purpose of taking every single cent that victim has. And the way they're going to do it is they're going to, after a month, talk to them about investing in cryptocurrency. And the way it works, and I'll tell you more about that as we progress here, is that they initially show them, hey, do you know how I achieve this lifestyle? I invest in cryptocurrency. And I didn't know much about it either, but my uncle taught me, and my uncle could teach you. And our victims are putting in a little money at first, and they're being shown a masterful website that has been created by the scammers that's completely fictitious. And they're showing them false returns on this small investment our victims put in. Their $5,000 is now $7,000 in a day, $8,000, $10,000. And as our victims see their money increase in value so substantially, they are then led to liquidate literally everything they have. And they are liquidating their retirement accounts, their children's college funds. They're putting everything they have into this scam. So when my friend Allison talked to me that Sunday night, she told me that her son, her young 20s son, had invested $10,000, but even worse, he had suggested it to a friend who had lost $50,000. So back to my backyard, later that summer, I get a text from a friend, a childhood friend, who wants to know. He says someone he's met online and has been chatting with has asked him to download Signal to avoid SMS charges. Do I know anything about Signal? And of course I know Signal. And I said, oh yeah, Signal's a good app. And then I'm kind of joking. I'm like, don't invest in crypto if she asks you to. And then I thought, oh God, that's exactly what this is. That's exactly what my friend is having. So I say, is she outside the US? And he says, well, that's a good question. He met her on a dating site. She's local, but has been in Phoenix. And then later I say specifically, do you know anything about her origin? And he says, well, yeah, she's from Myanmar. Well, that strikes a chord with me because when I found out about pig butchering, I did a deep dive into it. And what I found was that this is a massive, massive operation coming out of Southeast Asia. And it's being run by organized crime. It's being run as a massive, massive, almost business that sole purpose is scamming literally the world out of their hard-earned money. And let me tell you how they're doing this. They're running it with human trafficked victims. The way it happens is I've told you that they are masterful and that this is a highly planned operation that just works on repeat. They've got a plan that works and they do it over and over. So let me take you back in time a little bit. Pre-COVID, Chinese organized crime was building substantially in a special economic zone in Myanmar and along the coast of Cambodia. And what they were doing is they were building facilities where they could do online gambling. And they were building casino towers. And when COVID hit and no one was traveling and no one could fill those casino towers, they thought that they had to pivot and come up with a whole new type of crime. And that's exactly what they did. And so they came up with pig butchering. And so they've got these massive compounds that were sitting empty, and they needed personnel to do this type of crime that they were doing. So in the same way that they create these beautifully looking investment sites that are completely fake, they started creating job postings and saying that they were businesses, very sophisticated corporate businesses operating out of Bangkok and looking for talent in terms of human resources, in graphic design, in sales, and people would apply. They would be promised room and board. They would be promised that there would be sufficient money to send home to their families. And so they flew in from all over Southeast Asia to Bangkok. And when they arrived, their passports were taken from them and they were put in buses and vans and taken to facilities like this, where they were then locked down. There are bars on their windows. There are full compounds that they are not allowed to escape. They are guarded by armed men with AK-47s, and they are not allowed to leave because their job, as you can see in this photograph, is to conduct scams. And that's what they do all day, every day. They have a million different victims that they are working on, and their whole occupation is to get the money out of those victims. And they will stop at nothing to do that. And the reason why is because they are under threat. I've seen videos of people being beaten with baseball bats. I've seen videos of people being tased. That they are there to meet a quota, and they are there to develop these relationships so that they can fleece the world from their money. It started in China, taking money from Chinese citizens. It has spread to Taiwan, and it is in huge, it's a huge deal in the United States, in Australia, Europe, and it's massive and it's not stopping. In fact, we know from the FBI, who just dropped their numbers in March of this year, that $10 billion was lost to online fraud. But specifically what I'm concerned about right here is the one that's marked investment fraud, and that's put at $3.3 billion. Now, the numbers that they are showing here are numbers that they have received from victims who report to them. And we know that it's specifically in a case like this, victims aren't totally reporting everything that is coming to them. They are embarrassed about this. They're humiliated. They can't believe that they fell victim to this. And so even if statistics show that maybe 1 in 40 victims reports this crime, but even if it's 1 in 10, that means that $33 billion was lost last year in the United States. And what that means, when we really boil this down, is that is a whole generation's worth of wealth that is being taken and moved into the hands of organized crime, never to be seen again. It's a massive catastrophe. Now, when I look at the states in the United States and I look at California, I see that we are the big winner, and I love to win, but not when I am losing $2 billion to online crime last year. And so that's why, as a California prosecutor, I'm so concerned about this crime that I'm seeing. We had a victim come to us who lost over $1 million. That was one of our first victims. And I'm here to tell you that those numbers are very consistent with what we were seeing. We've seen smaller numbers. We've seen 50,000, 90,000, 300,000, but routinely now what we're seeing is huge numbers, over $1 million consistently. And what's happening is that it's devastating to these victims. They are not just losing money, they're losing their security. This is an example of a conversation between Cy and Jessica, his scammer. And you'll see that Cy's telling how desperate he is, that if he loses the money, he will suicide in secret. He is telling this woman he will kill himself. And even knowing that, the scammer tells him to continue. They are ending in tragedy. I'm aware of multiple suicide attempts, and I am aware of an actual suicide that took place in Minnesota. This is the photograph that was used to lure in the victim. It was a photograph on Facebook. And when I found out about that suicide a week later, that photograph was still up, and this photograph was still being used to attract victims. And they aren't slowing down. This is a picture. I'm out to dinner with my boyfriend not long ago, and he just says, look, here's another one. And it's constant. It is 100% constant. And now my friends and family send me these all the time, these screenshots, because that's absolutely what's happening. They are not slowing down. And the reason they're not slowing down is they don't have any reason to. They're operating with impunity, and nobody is stopping them because they are located in governments, in locations where we don't have a lot of influence, and it's very difficult to shut down something that's become so massive. And they're getting more offensive. This was another one that my friend received, where it looks to be like a 9-year-old girl with lipstick on. And as a former sexual assault prosecutor, there's nothing more offensive than seeing a little girl used as bait for someone. So my team, when we heard about this, we thought, well, what can we do about this? Identify and arrest them? Unlikely. We are a local operation, but what we do know how to do is trace money. And we are lucky in that we are familiar with cryptocurrency. We have been working with cryptocurrency for the past 5 years, and we know how to trace it on the blockchain. And not only do we know how to do it, we like to teach it, and we like to help other people learn how to do this. So we were able to trace, freeze it, seize it, and get it back to victims. And so far we've helped 19 victims get their money back. And we're very proud of that. And rinse and repeat. We keep doing it, and we keep trying to help victims, because that's where we think we do our best work as a local operation. And we were successful, and we got the message out. But what we realized is that other local agencies needed help. And so our mission over the past year has been to inspire and educate local and state law enforcement in the investigation and prosecution of crypto-related crimes. And to that end, we realized that a lot of local agencies, and I say local and state, but it's bigger than that, need help to learn how to do this, and that they often are working alone and are not well connected. And so to change that, I started something called the Crypto Coalition. And it is a group of what started as about 85 local practitioners, local law enforcement working in crypto cases, and is now over 1,000 members of local, state, international, and federal prosecutors in the United States who share resources and share experiences. It's a very active listserv, and we do webinars every 3 weeks where I bring on speakers from the exchanges and from people who are doing great work in this, so that we can all learn from each other. So the future is rough out there. We are fighting a major battle, and we are fighting a major operation that is operating with impunity on the other side of the world from me, and we will continue to fight. And so this is my contact information. I also started something called Operation Shamrock, which is directly targeted at at disrupting, at educating those we can about the scam, educating law enforcement about how to handle it, seizing assets, and trying to disrupt this industry that is created. So I'm really delighted to have had the opportunity to talk to you today. If you are interested in Operation Shamrock, or if you are law enforcement interested in joining the Crypto Coalition, it would be my pleasure. You've got my contact information there, and I'm also very active on LinkedIn. I talk about these issues all the time. So thank you again. It was a pleasure to be here this morning. I hope to hear from you.